morning, good evening. Bear with my voice and if I sniff a lot in this video because I'm a little sick at the moment, but bear with me. In this video, I'm going to be talking about Jesus' story and message and why it's needed now more than ever for the spiritual community. And I know a lot of people hearing that may say, why Jesus' story and message? Because spirituality is different than religion. But what I like to do is bring the two together because they're one and the same. One is trying to remember what you've forgotten, and the other is choosing to forget. To fight or not to fight? That is the greatest question. The majority of us today are ready to fight, are ready to overthrow this government, this system. But we've been here before, and we've done this before. And that's why history repeats itself. Because we're not getting to the root. We're remaining on the surface level and falling for the tricks in the mirror. So the cycle is never broken. One empire falls to be replaced through another. You cut off the head of one snake and another forms. I completely understand the emotion behind people, the anger, the frustration, and that anger and frustration, the confusion, causes them to want to be violent. Especially when you feel your freedoms, your rights, your things are being threatened and taken from you. But this is what spirituality has been about the whole time. Acceptance and surrendering. But most of us have not fully accepted nor surrendered. And so we say, I get it, but I know what you mean, but I'm there, but if there's any but, any doubt, you have not broken through, because it's not even a doubt in your mind who you are or what we are fighting. There is no teetering back and forth. When you break through, you fully get it and understand in that moment exactly who you are and what these people are fighting. So I just shared a picture yesterday of a city in Europe. The entire city is covered with people, and this was from 2018, trying to force the government to resign, force them to be overthrown. And again, none of these people have gotten to the root of their own turmoils, so they're still blaming the government. They are what's wrong with me and my life and my situation. So their happiness, instead of the happiness of if I can just get that new car, if I can just get that new house, if I can just overthrow this system, if I can just kill off this system, heaven on earth is here. My life is fixed and it's done. But none of these people have a plan. All these people ready to go riot and tear down the government and the systems and the communities in which you live in. Nobody knows who they are. And if you don't know who you are, you don't know what you're fighting against. We have yet to look in that mirror. Honestly look in the mirror, which is why we are still so eager to fight. And this is why I called this video Jesus' story and message. Because Jesus was you. Every God throughout history has been you. You started as a name. For instance, mine is Tyler. Jesus' name was Jesus. You start as a name. And you have a separation between your name and the sacred name of God. But through the name Jesus, you remembered who you were. You were fighting a system just like you were today. But you awakened to who you were in that incarnation. And so you spread the message of, I know who I am. And how can I display that message? The ultimate surrenderance. It's infamous, the story of how Jesus was arrested, tortured, and fought zero. He didn't fight. He didn't resist. He said that he would rise again. But this was metaphorical. And this rising again, the coming back to life, is what keeps the religion alive, is the fact that this man came back to life. But it wasn't a literal coming back to life. He knew himself beyond the name Jesus and beyond the name God. Just like Enoch becoming Metatron. And when you do that, you know you are eternal, everlasting life. You do not die. So it's what Osho says. The Buddhas know. You can torture this body, you can harm this body, you can whip this body, you can strike this body, but the Buddha cannot be touched. You will never touch my core. And only a Buddha knows that. When you know yourself, you can have at my body all day, whip it, hang it, crucify it. You will never penetrate into the core of my being, because the core of my being is what's inside of you. My own hand is whipping me, but he understood through love. He understood the confusion behind each one of these men, because he knew he was them. He knew he would return through another name, another incarnation, which is us here and now. Only history is repeating because we are attempting to fight a system. And again, this is what made his story so infamous. He did not fight. He did not resist. He displayed the ultimate message of self-knowing. Because like I say, everyone is secure in their spirituality and what they know until the test arrives. Once the vaccines and the forced mandates and your freedoms start being taken away, we throw away all of our knowledge on spirituality and we're ready to use these. If you think you knew something before, you throw it out, because that's not going to help me. That's not going to change my freedoms being threatened. So how can I defend this? How can I prolong what I am not just a little longer with these? You're going to cling on to your experience and hold on for dear life. And that's what Terence McKenna talks about. If only you knew there was nothing to hold on to here, you wouldn't even bother. You wouldn't try. But people think that this is actually real. This is who they are. This is what they are. When really this is just a temporary experience, and we know it. Death is a certainty. And some people even go as far as to say they will die fighting for their freedoms and rights. And if you are willing to pay the price of death to another being for your freedom and rights, why not pay the price of death to yourself right here and now? Let yourself simulate the concept of death, where you are no more. All your beliefs and thoughts have gone away, and you're back to the child who knows nothing. The child never saw the corruption in the world. They didn't see separation. They didn't see differences. They didn't see colors. We innately pick these characteristics up through observing, listening. We hear, that's the black, this is the white, this is you, this is me. And we innately attach these characteristics to ourselves, slowly, one piece at a time. But these pieces are simply an illusion. So the Roman Empire are who crucified and determined Jesus' fate. And the reason I'm covering Jesus again is because it's very relevant to what's happening now. This was one man trying to turn or tell a system and the people of this system that this system has no power, has no control, to know yourself, and that the kingdom of heaven is within. But this empire was not a government. This empire, the Roman Empire, overthrew a previous government, just like we're attempting to do now. So it wasn't a government that killed and crucified Jesus Christ. It was people like me and you who are so willing and anxious to overthrow a government. And once we do, we will turn on each other because we have not gotten to the root problem. Corruption forms because of ignorance, because you don't know who you are. This is why the indigenous people had no trouble with this. There was no laws and no value systems. Everyone was equally the same. Everyone had the same materials, the same things. And if they didn't, they shared the sovereignty. They shared it with everyone. Because there was no value. There was no value seen. There was no established value anywhere but in life itself, in the experience. So it was called the Etruscan Empire. And the Etruscan Empire was a government, a system. Prior to the Romans, the Romans overthrew this government, this system. The Romans were people just like you and me, who were frustrated, angry. And what did they do with all that anger? They turned on each other. You had one man, which is what I feel will happen to me. All these people are ready to fight and riot and have weapons and go overthrow the government. They hear one person say, "Don't fight, know yourself." What do you think they're going to do to you? They're going to stone you to death. Because again, they don't know who they are. So do you think that's the answer? Stoning people to death, batting them in the head to death, killing them? History repeats because we're not paying attention. We're not getting to the root. The root is, who are you? Leave the world behind. Just like in your sleep, there is no concerning of the world or of government. You take this entire experience with you right into the mind, and you create a whole nother one. And this is vital information because it's a certainty that it's going to happen again. But people won't take this message serious until it's too late. Mark this video and mark my words. We're going to overthrow our government. We're going to overthrow our system because it's inevitable. History has proven that the people cannot handle this. So we will overthrow them. Atlantis is here. If you've done your research on ancient maps, America is Atlantis. They want to give you some lie that Atlantis was in the Atlantic Ocean. Wrong. Atlantis is America. America is Atlantis. We are one and the same. That's why it was the Atlantic Ocean. Atlantis was here. That was the Atlantic Ocean. It was off of Atlantis. We are that empire, and we are literally doing a full circle. Their technology overpowers themselves. They kill themselves without leaving a trace behind. And then we're stuck trying to remember, who was Atlantis? Where was Atlantis at? It was here, right before your eyes. It's happening. Where was Jesus at? Jesus died. It's here. It's happening right before your eyes. This is the big event, people. This is the big event that everybody in spirituality has been begging for. And now that it's here, we don't want to stay spiritual. We want to fight. And we want to kill and overthrow. This cannot be the answer because love has been the answer in spirituality for as long as history. It can't be the answer. It's not the way. And this is why I stress to know yourself before going to fight. You will have the greatest laugh with yourself when you awaken to what this system is. There's a reason I overuse this term and I continuously say it. But there's a reason all worldly systems mimic the human brain. It's not a coincidence. The systems mimic the human brain because the true system governing the universe is your brain. Only the men of wealth know this for a certainty. Only Freemasons know this for a certainty. A lot of people who are in the conspiracies like to hold this belief that Freemasons are evil and they're controlling the world and they know something you don't. But the only thing they know that you don't is themselves. They know themselves as them and they know themselves as you. They don't attempt to fight or control anything because control has never been theirs. Control is a created concept off of the belief of being human. Control has come from the belief of humanism, being human. And that sense of control is, if I'm hungry, I'm going to eat. If I want to leave my house, I will open my door. That is our sense of control. And while we have that basic control, on a deeper scale, control has never been yours. Did you choose your character on the video game when you incarnated here and birthed here? Did you have a selection of people to choose from and say, I want to be that person. I want to look like this. I want to have my name be Tyler. I want to have this done. You've had no control up to this point. It's never been yours. But we're fighting for something that has never been ours because of a misconception. The ego is what gets in the way, is what confuses us. And the ego is what we will defend till the death. But it is precisely this ego death that will set you free. If you've seen the movie Fight Club, the narrator is fighting with a character by the name of Tyler Durden. And the whole movie, they appear as separate characters. And it isn't until the end of the movie that he's on the phone with his girlfriend, and she says, "Why are you acting so weird, Tyler?" And he says, "What did you just call me?" And she says, "Tyler Durden." Why? What the heck? And it's in that moment that he realizes he is both characters. He is playing both characters, and he has only literally been fighting himself the entire time. And after that, they show clips of him literally punching himself in the gut, punching himself in the face. If only the people rioting knew that is the literacy of this fight. You are taking your fist and ramming it into your face. You are taking a sword and shoving it into your own gut. You're crucifying your own self because you don't know who you are. Confusion brings anger and frustration, especially when we're under the assumption that we're something we're not. That is why we are so naturally willing to defend this, because we have dedicated our entire lives to building this, attaching things to this, and establishing things through this. But that is what I mean by we have not gotten to the root of what this is. The most powerful system governing this world is right behind your eyes, and yet you still look outside of you to this system which does not exist. There's a reason some people see this system and some people don't. Not all of us are experiencing the same thing, and you have to be honest with yourself and ask why. If it was so absolute, if it was so factual, we would all undoubtedly see and exist in the same experience, but we do not. Proving to you, your mind is what you are seeing through, not the eyes. The eyes allow you to see the mind on this screen. But everything on this screen is your own mind stretched inside out. What you think to be the world is your own mind. And when you go out into what you think to be the world, you're going out into your own mind, into your own being. And when you want to fight other people and overthrow governments and systems, you're fighting with yourself on a surface level. You will continuously and endlessly repeat the vicious cycle. This is why I'm begging people to think of this stuff here and now Everyone wants to overthrow the government. What then? What next? I want to hear answers. What is the plan after that? What comes next? Because I'll tell you what comes next. It's already happened. That's why I can tell you. The Romans overthrew the Etruscans. The Etruscans were a government no different than ours right now. Families were in high power. Certain families had more wealth than others, and it was under conspiracy that these families were controlling the entirety. But what happens when they were overthrown? Was it heaven on earth? Absolutely not. It got worse. They were beheading people. They were putting people's heads on sticks. They were cutting people in half, torturing them. You think it's going to get better after you overthrow a government? You will turn on each other like wolves. Where do you think cannibalism came from? The thing that's keeping your stores full is this system that's in place, and it's perfect just as it is. But once you overthrow the government, your stores will slowly become empty, and you will be forced to eat each other like wolves. It's a certainty. It's happened already. Cannibalism wasn't a choice. We had to eat each other. But we did it to ourselves. We put ourselves in that position. Just look around at the riots that happen in the streets. When you riot and destroy your city, your grocery stores are empty for weeks. What do you think's going to happen when you overthrow the government and the system that's filling and supplying your whole city? It's going to be a free-for-all. You think it's going to get better? You think corruption's going to end? It's going to get worse. That's what happened with the Romans. One man proclaimed he was the Roman Empire. And just like that, everyone submitted to this one man's rule. And if you did not, beheaded. We'll make you an example. We're going to take you into the center of the freaking community, have everyone watch, and you will be guillotined. That'll teach them. You will submit to this rule or be beheaded. What do you think's going to happen when you overthrow the government here in America? One person, or maybe a group of people, is going to establish this power and this dominance over everyone, and history will repeat. It's a certainty. It's inevitable because, again, this is why I post statuses asking people, do you resonate with this fight? And most of my friends resonate with it. And it blows my mind. Because fighting is not a spiritual battle. Spirituality is about going beyond the surface. If we're still trying to fight, we're still at the surface. We need to pierce through these images on our screen of consciousness. Jesus did not become Christ. He obtained Christ consciousness, which is the universal consciousness of life itself. And I'm willing to die for this message. If my own people in my community want to stone me to death and kill me because I'm telling them not to fight, to surrender, to be peaceful, then do it. Kill me, behead me. You'll be no different than the empire, than the corruption you are fighting against. You will become the very monster you fight against. There is no fight here. There is no battle here. That's what spirituality is about. Complete acceptance. That's what Ram Dass talked about. Ram Dass. Spirituality is about pure acceptance. Realizing everything is perfect as it is. The system that's in place, and when I mean the system, I mean no man-made system. I'm talking about the actual system that's governing everything. Because there is a cosmic energy, but it's your energy. It's not something in space, because remember what I said. What you think to be outer space in the earth is your mind stretched inside out. And you can look as far deep into space and out into Earth for this problem or for this corruption all you want. But you'll end where you began. You'll end where you began. It's all in your mind. You will scour space and Earth for this corruption and for this elite power everywhere, and you will never find it, because you will end where you began. The problem began in your mind, and you projected this problem out into the world to be found, but you won't find it until you've ended where you began this problem. That is a breakthrough. That is self-realization. A full circle. Jesus did not die. His eyes are looking at me right now. Her eyes are looking at me right now. We're all Jesus because we're all a name. The name does not matter. We're all a name, established through the consciousness of Christ itself. Christ is not a person. It is a consciousness, the universal consciousness of life itself. So we're all the name through the universal consciousness of Christ itself. You are life, everlasting life, and you'll always be life, which breaks off to establish a name and create an experience. But that experience is yours, and it's up to you. You are what's governing your experience. Nothing else. No one else. And if you want me to explain why governments are starting to crack down on our freedoms and our rights and things like this, I'll explain it to the way I explained to one of my good friends. What we're calling government, we're viewing as a separate entity from ourselves. We need to look at everything from a oneness, non-dualistic point of view. What you're calling the government is really a system put in place by yourself, Christ consciousness. You've put them here for a reason. And they're here to help you awaken from your own dream. Excuse me. Same with artificial intelligence. You can look at it from the dualistic point of view. It's either it's going to destroy me and kill me, it's here to harm me, or it's here to show me myself. It's here to serve a purpose, and I put it here. The same with government. It's here to kill me, it's here to destroy me, it's going to harm me. I put it here for a reason, for a purpose, to show me to myself. A lot of people don't want to do DMT because it takes control away from you. It takes you out of your body and forces you to lose control, meaning you go where it wants you to go. Control is no longer yours, and you see into, in that moment, who you are, and exactly what control actually is. But for the people who don't want to do DMT and instantly have that control taken from them, this is the process. It is slowly, one piece at a time, one freedom at a time, one right at a time, being taken from you so that you can awaken from this human dream. And that's why I've been saying this since 2018. No human has ever birthed here, and no human has ever died here, because we are not the human being. Being human is no different than being Tyler. It's a name. It's a name that I established myself through, and through that name you have created boundary. So if I am just Tyler, I am just human, this is the boundary that you will stretch your mind into through the world and space. Because again, this is your mind stretched inside out. So if I'm just human, I'm going to play small and see myself in this experience as in accordance to human. And where does the human exist? It exists on earth. So when I look out in my mind, I'm going to project this picture to be earth. I am just a human here on earth. And outside of earth is space. So everything we're seeing is mirroring our foundational beliefs. And what our foundation is built on is ego. We attach various characteristics and materials to ourselves, and that is how corruption forms, because we're under the assumption this is what I am, and I must possess and control and dominate more. And that's where we become more unhappy, because control has never been yours, and the more control you establish here, the less fun this experience gets. That's why the adult is more unhappy and the child is dancing around for no reason. They have no control. They need no control. The thrill is in the mystery. That is when you are in the moment. And the moment is everlasting. It does not change. The moment during Jesus' crucifixion is the very same moment right now that action is transpiring through. Phenomenon is happening through this given moment, and this moment has never changed. It echoes silence into eternity, and when you pay attention to that, it is speaking to you always. This moment is golden. It is yours. It can never be touched. And when you know yourself, you know you are this moment. This body will expire and transpire through this moment, but you will remain as the moment. This is why Jesus was so willing to turn himself into the force. I'll be back. I'll be back again. And here we are. Here we are. Right back to square one where he began. We have the corrupt system. Jesus was attempting to go against this corrupt system, but not in the way everybody else wanted to. Many people didn't like the Romans, but they had no choice. You submit or be killed. Many people wanted to overthrow them, but Jesus' message was love and acceptance. The kingdom of heaven is within. Know yourself. As above, so below. All of these messages were to point people in the direction of self-enlightenment. But what this self-enlightenment did was it threatened the Roman Empire. And again, the Roman Empire were people like you and me who did not yet know themselves. So Jesus became the enemy. Don't you dare teach these people liberation from our system. Everything happening is right on time. That's what we don't realize. And especially, I stress this to the spiritual community in particular because I've been involved with the spiritual community for well over 7 to 8 years now. And all I've seen is them begging for the big event. Begging, asking, please, we're ready. Please, we're ready. We're ready for the big event. We're waiting. Here you go. To fight or to surrender. To apply all your knowledge, all the books you've read, all the videos you've watched and listened to apply this here and now, or to take it all and discard it right out the window and use these. Brute force is an illusion, okay? We are taught that to grab somebody and freaking just throw them against a wall, that's power, that's force. Not at all. What Jesus displayed to the Romans is ultimate, supreme power. Not anybody can do that. Anybody can throw a fist. Anybody can take a life. Not anybody could do what Jesus did. That takes courage. And that takes a man who has seen his greatest fears. He has looked into his greatest fears. He has seen into the mirror we call Satan. And he recognized himself. He knew himself through this mirror. Breaking through duality. There is no you and me, this and that. There is the universal consciousness of Christ itself, which all life is a part of, which is why we are all connected. What I do to you, I have done to myself, and vice versa. Which is why fighting is not the way. If you're talking about temporary on a surface level, then absolutely, this is the way. Have at it. Go kill each other. But if you want long-term, longevity, eternal happiness, heaven on earth, it does not involve fighting. There is another way. It's possible. And it's possible because you've shown yourself it's possible. Again, through the name Jesus and Buddha and Allah and these great men of history. You've proven your capability. You've shown what you can do here. The impact and the influence you have when you know yourself to its core. And how much that can transform the people around you and influence them to do the same. You wouldn't find not one disciple of Buddha going off to fight in a riot. Because what he taught was total death. That is what Buddha called it. He taught total death. And the reason he called it this was because many people feel that when you die, you reincarnate, or you can come back, or you're in a wheel of samsara. So he called it total death. Let's die completely. Let's obliterate everything that you know. From beginning to end, from end to beginning, from this side to that side to this side. Let's obliterate everything you know. And die completely here and now. Especially if you are so willing to die fighting, not knowing who this enemy is you are fighting against. If you are willing to pay that price, let's pay it here and now to ourselves. And that doesn't mean suicide, obviously. I'm talking about an ego death. The phoenix, killing itself, bursting into flames to rebirth itself. That is how Enoch became Metatron. And that is why the story of Enoch was taken from the Bible given to general population. Because it was a little more specific than the instruction from the Bible. And that is also why the Bible has been rewritten so many times. I have actually seen, I had a high-ranking Freemason email me probably 3 years ago. And this man sent me pictures of a Freemason Bible from the 1800s. And if you read the text, they are 100% different. It literally spells out to you that you are God, that Jesus is not a man in the sky. Okay? It spells out for you the answer. It was rewritten to establish an entity. But that entity has come from the minds of men. We have shaped our gods. We have shaped our devils. Are Satans. We are both principles. And this is why I posted the picture about the black needing the white and the white needing the black. You need the two to exist. But the greatest trick is they're not two. That is the true breakthrough. They're really one and the same. And that's what I mean. When you realize that, there's nothing left to fight. It's all you. What more can I resist when it's all myself? And just like I said, governments are coming not to be the evil bad guy, but to slowly awaken us to ourselves. So if we think we are in control here, that human belief of control is slowly going to be transformed and transformed and transformed. And the people who aren't ready are not going to like it. They will fight. They will fight till the death. But the people in the spiritual community who have been asking for this and saying they're ready, this is the time. We apply ourselves. Again, look at everything from a non-dualistic point. If there is government, if there is artificial intelligence, how can I connect this back unto myself? How can I look at this through the non-dual lens instead of the dualistic lens of this and me and them, they and I? Instead, there is only one force here that's governing both of us. And it's still myself. But it's not Tyler. It's the consciousness sparking life through Tyler. And that spark of consciousness is eternal. I don't need to hold on to Tyler. I don't need to defend or protect Tyler. I'm already taken care of because I know myself. And I don't need to worry about dying or rebirthing because I've tasted immortality. And I know to my core who I am. And I know that you can come with your tanks and your armies and you can give me the most threatening thing you could ever imagine. You can put a tank to my face, you can jump me, you can beat me, you can stab me, you can shoot me, set me on fire, behead me, hang me, crucify me. But you will never penetrate into the core of my being and who I am. And as I said, it's inevitable. America's going to fall, so I hope people save this video and mark my words. America's going to fall because it's been proven time and time again. This is what I want people to realize. History is not different from what's happening now. It's repeating because we are not getting to the root and going beyond this surface. The Jesus story is unfolding right now before our eyes. All these revolutions have involved brute force and physicality. And do you know what the result of that has been? Genocide. Genocide. And more genocide. And hate. And rebellion. And anger. They did this to me. They did that to me. They did this to me. They did this to my people. They did that to my people. They did this to my people. Nobody's healing. Nobody's at any point taking time to understand. We're identifying and attaching with the emotion, and we're throwing all of our knowledge out the window and willing to die and fight through this emotion. And I'm not saying it's not okay to feel emotion, but do not lose your mind behind emotion. Emotion can trigger people to snap without thinking. Feel the emotion. It's good. It's vital. It's there to show you something. I'm not saying the emotion's an illusion. It's there to help you, to show you something. But do not attach the emotion to your being. Feel it. Purge it. Get it out. But don't take the emotion out on anyone else until you have known yourself. When the time comes and everyone's burning their cities down and walking toward the government buildings, you will be witnessing World War III. And we're going to have missed the mark completely. Because just as my cover photo says, the final battle is in the minds of men. It is not on a field. It is not in the community in which you live in. It is not in your own city, in your own neighborhood. Like I've said, after you tear down and set ablaze your own community, you have to live there. You have to exist there still. The problem didn't go away. If anything, you just made it worse. Now you have no food because you've destroyed the stores. You have no freight coming in because you've destroyed the system. Have we thought this through all the way? Of course not. Because we're still so eager to overthrow. We think it's going to get better. But I promise you, this is where cannibalism was introduced. Really think about it. There's actually a movie about this too that I watched not too long ago. But they were in the wilderness or the wild, and they were a group of kids fighting each other or fighting, an army or something. And they were forced to start eating people, eating each other, because they were in the snow and trying to get from one place to another. I forget the name of the movie, so forgive me, but they literally started eating each other to survive. That's the reality of what we're facing. And I truly hope people get this message through. Because when the time comes and everyone's ready to fight, those few people who are trying to tell them, don't fight, know yourself, look within, you're going to be killed. You're going to be trampled on. You're going to be stampeded over. You think they're going to want to listen to you? Once it's already gone as far as the point of people walking the streets with weapons, you think they're going to want to listen to you? You think they're going to be ready to listen to, look within? The kingdom of heaven is within. They're going to shoot you in the face. And I'm being 100% realistic with people because I want people to think ahead. Let's think long term, not short term. Let's think ahead. Put ourselves in the future already. Because we don't tend to do that and think of the outcome. It's just like I tell people with the spiritual work we do. Realigning chakras or doing any type of spiritual work. We keep doing and we keep doing and have to come back. Because we have put all of our faith, our answers into this. If only I can do this, if I can reach the crown chakra, if I can overthrow the government, if I can get the new car, if I can move somewhere, if I can get a better job, a better promotion. When really it's just, if you could only know yourself, there would be no fight. The fight wouldn't exist because you would see no enemy. If love is the answer, where can an enemy exist? Especially when you love yourself and you have come to the realization that this entire experience, from a cat to a person to a blade of grass, is yourself. Not on a metaphorical level, on a literal level. The energy vibrating in that blade of grass is the same energy vibrating your blood to flow right now. We don't need to connect to Earth, connect to Gaia, She is inside of you. You are not a product of this earth. The earth is a product of your mind. And that's why you cannot take the earth away. You cannot change what isn't there. When you change, this changes. The only way to see different is to acknowledge what you are seeing through. That is what opening the third eye means. But this term, opening the third eye, has become a pseudoscience in today's age. We're turning it into a process, and we're saying that the ancient Egyptians did something to open their third eye. No, they didn't. We're saying that they had a process or something they drank or did, or sun gazing to open the third eye. No, they didn't. I'm not saying they didn't sun gaze, but it wasn't to open the third eye. And that's what the great misconception of the third eye is. The third eye is simply acknowledging the most powerful eye of all, which is where the all-seeing eye, the illuminous eye, comes from. A singular eye illuminating out. Just like I said, what you think to be the world and outer space and this whole galaxy and system that's never ending is your own mind stretched inside out. The abyss is not in space, it's in your own mind. You think space is never ending, but it's not. It's your own mind. Your mind is the endless void. And when you chase yourself into the endless void through space, you are no different than Alice in Wonderland. Because we're all mad here. And we're all inevitably searching for something which isn't there. But that is the breakthrough. That is the great realization. When you reach for it and cannot grab it. When it's right in front of you, and you go to grab it, and it dissolves before your very fingers. That's the significance in beginning where you end. You'll end your journey right where you began, where the belief of God was even established and projected outside of you. And when you end where you began to realize, oh my God, I've been God this whole time projecting it outside me. I actually thought this was a character. You will laugh hysterically, as most do. It's hilarious. That's where the subconscious mind comes into play. You are subconsciously playing out two beings, two entities in your mind right now as I speak. It's me and they, me and them, God and I, human and God, man and God, you and me. And that's why I stress to everyone as well to know who they are. Because when we use when we're referring to government, or when we're referring to what's wrong with the world, we simply throw it on the word they. It's just them. They're the problem of the world. They're what's wrong with the world. If only they weren't there. If only they didn't exist. There's a deeper message behind it. And when you accept this, you will have seen beyond your worst fear. And your worst fear is non-existence, is a permanent non-existence. But I'm telling you, through my experience, there is no such thing as non-existence. in this form or the next. You are inevitable. You cannot avoid a vaccine, because if this vaccine is truly what I am inevitable. And there's a reason I repeatedly use that term too. What you are is inevitable, meaning you cannot avoid it. You can fight, you can cling, you can hold on, you can resist death even, but you are inevitable. To take the vaccine or to not take the vaccine. That gene from the vaccine and the virus is already well into the air. You've already breathed it in. It's touched your skin. And for most of us, it's already mutated into our genes. Me right now, I have a flu. It's not COVID, but I have a flu. Chances are my genes already incorporate the virus. Chances are I already have the virus, the vaccine, in my body. Why do I need to worry about, am I going to take it? Am I not going to take it? Am I going to do this? Am I going to do that? It's inevitable. I'm not worried about it. I know for a fact it's already mutated into my body. You can inject me with it if you want, but I'm already immune. It's in my system. I've already mutated it. But whether you do or not, it makes no difference. And not everyone's body can handle the mutation, which will bring death. But death is inevitable, change is inevitable, and so is evolution. And that's what we are witnessing right now, and more rapidly than ever before. But we are witnessing the evolution happen right before our very eyes. This form is transforming into the next. This story is creating another story. It's all connected. It's all relevant. There is no coincidence. And everything that is going on right now is leading you back to yourself. And I'm going to end the video with this. Just as I said, DMT is a fast, instant way to die. Take away your control. All in one shot. Boom. It takes you out of the body and shows you to yourself beyond what you think is in control here. But for the people who don't want to do DMT, who don't want to have that experience of instant control taken from them, that is what is going on in the universe now. It's not the universe or some foreign entity from you doing this to you. This is you doing this for yourself, to awaken you from your own dream, to get you out of your own way. And you will be uncomfortable. Your fears may come up. You may cry even, but that is spirituality. Looking in that mirror and being honest and vulnerable with yourself. Because if you're not a safe place, who is? At some point, we have to get real with ourselves and be honest. And until we get to the root of who we are, these systems are going to endlessly form one after the other. So once we overthrow this government, there will inevitably be another person or another group that establishes dominance, establishes wealth through a created value out of nothing, and then slowly begins to rain down on the people through force, through death, and through the same thing that the Roman Empire did, intimidation. You won't dare step to us. You won't dare try and overthrow us. We'll make an example out of you. And like I said, these people that form these governments and groups are not people different from you and me. They are you and me. We're doing it to ourselves. Choose wisely.